On December 7, 2025, a father named Stephen uploaded footage from a security camera installed inside his bedroom. At the time of the recording, he was home alone. This is the same room where his young daughter often plays during the day. In the video, the bedroom door begins to move. Not smoothly, but in short, hesitant motions as if someone is carefully trying to open it and then stopping. The door pauses, shifts again, and then stops completely. And that is when the most unsettling part happens. The light inside the room turns off. Only after that does the door suddenly slam shut. At first, Stephen thought it might have been a draft or a technical issue. But the problem is that the light switch in this room is mechanical. It cannot be flipped without physical contact. If no one was standing in the doorway, then who turned off the light? While reviewing older footage from the same camera, Stephen noticed something else he hadn't seen before. In one video, he is playing with his daughter. It looks like a completely normal moment. Nothing seems unusual. But when the footage is slowed down, a single slat of the window blinds lifts up and immediately drops back into place. Only one slat moves. Not the entire set of blinds. As if someone briefly peeked into the room. That would be easy to explain if not for one detail. The bedroom is located on the second floor. There is no balcony, no ladder, and no possible way for someone outside to reach the window. Stephen zoomed in and carefully analyzed the footage. There are no fingers. There is no hand. No one is standing near the window. The blind moves on its own. After connecting these two videos, the recording of the door and the light, and the earlier footage of the blinds, Stephen stopped allowing his daughter to play in that room. He also admits that he no longer feels comfortable being there alone. Since then, nothing else unusual has been captured. But the camera is still there. And it is still recording. If no one was at the door, and no one was at the window, then who turned off the light? And who was watching through the blinds? 3 months later, a woman named Laura checked into a small roadside motel after her GPS rerouted her through unfamiliar roads. The name sounded familiar. Whispering Pines. Inside her room, everything felt slightly off. The mirror reflected too much ceiling. The clock ticked without moving. The TV showed static. At 2:17 a.m., the TV flickered. This time, it showed her hallway. She watched herself step out of her room on the screen, trying locked doors. Then she noticed something else. A shadow followed her reflection. Always a step behind. Laura turned off the TV and covered the mirror with a towel. In the morning, the towel was gone. And the mirror showed her sleeping. Even though she was standing awake, watching it. Police later found the room empty. No signs of struggle. Only a brass key left on the dresser. No number. Years later, an urban explorer discovered references to a motel that had officially closed decades ago. The Whispering Pines Motel. No photographs. No blueprints. Only reports of travelers who vanished after stopping at a place that was never supposed to exist. According to the records, the motel does not stay in one location. It appears only when a person is truly alone. When the fuel tank is almost empty. When there is no choice. When there is nowhere left to go. The explorer never found the building. But he found something else. A box. Inside were dozens of identical brass keys. All of them unmarked. No numbers. On top lay a note, written with a trembling hand. It read, "You do not choose the room. The room chooses you. And when you finally understand where you are, you will know." The explorer hesitated before touching the keys. They were arranged too neatly. as if someone had placed them there carefully. Waiting. He picked one up. The metal was warm. Not from the sun. From use. From that day on, the road began to change. At night, the fuel gauge dropped faster than it should have. The GPS lost signal in familiar places. Highways stretched longer than they ever had before. Sometimes, deep between the trees, he thought he saw a faint glow. Neon. Distant. He told himself it was exhaustion. Coincidence. Until one night, the engine began to sputter. The tank was nearly empty. The phone was dead. And ahead, through the fog, a sign flickered to life. Vacancy. The motel looked old. Too quiet. Every curtain was drawn tight, as if whatever was inside did not want to be seen. The office smelled of dust and cold air. Behind the counter sat a man. Perfectly still. He looked at the key in the explorer's hand. "You found us," the clerk said softly. The explorer wanted to argue. To say he was only looking for answers. No words came. The clerk nodded toward the hallway. At the very end stood a door. No number. The key fit easily. Inside, the clock ticked, but its hands never moved. The mirror reflected more than it should have. The television hissed softly, even when turned off. The explorer understood then. He had read all of this before. In every report. He turned to leave. There was no door. Only a hallway. Long. Dark. Behind the counter sat the clerk again. Now, he was smiling. "You understand where you are now," he whispered. On the counter rested the box. Empty. The explorer sat down. Not because he wanted to. Because there was no one else left to wait. Far away, on an empty highway. A lonely driver sighed with relief. The fuel tank was almost empty. And in the darkness, a faint neon light flickered on. Vacancy. The Whispering Pines Motel had appeared once again.